Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Called Out. This is episode 13. We have a special guest today. We have Deven Baker, who's going to be joining us a little later. But first, I'm going to start off by introducing our hosts, Chris and Marcus. How are you guys doing today?
Doing wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for asking. I'm just glad to be on this segment today. 13. The episodes are just rolling, steaming, steaming, and
Rolling, rolling,
we got a
rolling.
great guest, and I'm happy. I'm excited for this segment.
How's everybody doing today? Welcome to Called Out. Looking forward to this segment as well. We're getting into some things today.
Yeah. Before we get going, I want to give a big shout out to 10 Performance. 10 Performance. These guys are great because they produce the best natural supplements, cleanest supplements on the planet. If you can find a cleaner supplement than 10 Performance, you can walk out for free. We'll send it to you for free. If you can find a cleaner supplement than 10 Performance in terms of protein, no binders, no fillers, no artificial sweeteners, just straight whey if you're doing protein, as well as a nice carbohydrate supplementation, very clean, sweet potato, arrowroot, and tapioca root in powdered form. If you can find a cleaner supplement than that, then we'll let you have it for free. We that's our slogan, and we stick to it. So shout out for 10 Performance for putting on some of the best supplements for natural athletes on the planet. You can reach these guys at 10performance.com, and you can totally order. They ship nationwide, very fast, very efficient. They're one of the top brands, definitely in the industry. So I use them to build this master physique. So shout out.
Yes, we'll put the link in the comments or the website.
10
For sure.
Performance. Yes, sir.
That's my
Without
secret
further ado,
weapon.
I
That's
want to
my
get
secret weapon. But sharing is caring, man.
you can't do out the secrets like that, man. You gotta throw out a discount code with it next time, brother.
Oh, the discount
Help you
code. Thank you for reminding me, man. You can actually use a discount code which is 25% off. Marcus 20. Marcus
Mark
20. And that'll get you 25% off.
jot that down, and I'm gonna make my order today. What you think is the best product up there, brother?
The best product for me has to be the Male Recover Pro, simply because it has clean, non-synthetic growth factors in there. It has Tribulus terrestris, and it's all in powder. I'm sorry, in sublingual form. So it goes under your tongue, and it goes right into your bloodstream. So it's different from oral supplementation, which has to take a lot of digestive processes to get into your bloodstream. So that's why I stand by 10 Performance for that quick, fast absorption.
Well, 10 Performance, thank you for the contributions today, helping us run this show. We probably wouldn't be on today without you. And how's your week been so far, brother?
Man, it's been a tough one. Training's tough when you're dialing in inside of 6 weeks, getting ready for the OCB presidential, and my head is super focused. I've been sticking to my meal plan, been obviously sticking to the workouts, and it's getting tough, man. But tough is going, and nobody said that what we do is easy, and then just sticking to the grind, brother. You know how prep is, man. You've done like 6 shows this year, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I see you on the live. I stole your Stairmaster from Hell's Secret. That 10 Performance secret is next. Any other jewels you got for us?
Hey, man, eat early and eat often. That's my jewel for the day. Eat early and eat often. People who eat throughout the day are able to crank that metabolism up and make it work best for them. That's my dietitian nugget and performance physique nugget for the day. Eat early and eat often.
We need to put a staple in that performance physique. Say that one more time. We're gonna hold one of those each segment.
That's our nutrition nugget, man. Nutrition nugget for the segment, man. Eat
Ooh, I
early
like
and eat
that.
often.
Nutrition nugget number 1: eat early and eat often. Straight from
That's
there.
it. Don't run out of time.
So, So we're gonna get into this episode if you don't mind, brother. We got a very special guest today. Another one of these classic physique guys. I think he's seen a few of the episodes and he wants some smoke himself. He's seen a couple other guys and he's like, So without further ado, we're gonna introduce Deven Baker, our classic physique pro. How you doing, bro?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
No problem. We couldn't wait to get you on.
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna get right into it. I know a lot of people they've been getting nervous coming on Called Out. I get a lot of DMs. What kind of questions you gonna throw at us? Who are you looking for me to get called out? We're just looking for you to get a better chance to let your personality shine in the natural bodybuilding world, because we know it's more than about just getting on the stage and showing these muscles that we got. So my first question for you: what do you do besides bodybuilding?
So, other than bodybuilding, I also coach high school basketball, high school football at my old high school, and
Okay.
I work with the wide receivers as well as special teams, and I've been doing that for probably 2 years volunteering, and then 2 years kind of full time now. And this year, I just recently took over as the strength and conditioning coach and speed and agility for the high school as well.
Congratulations.
Yep. Other than that, I actually just started my own little ice cream business right after the AMBF show, AMBF Thrive Nationals. So, kind of
Man,
just it started just for fun, doing it for family, holiday stuff like that, and then it kind of just something that it just took off, and I kind of just almost come up with any creation that people can come up with, and people have some crazy minds, and want some pretty weird combinations.
Is this ice cream? Let's talk about that. That looks delicious. Is it a pickup service or do you ship it out as well?
So right now, currently, it is you can come pick it up from my house in Somerset, or I can also deliver it. Um, it's just so new that I'm not currently shipping out yet. But once I do, I'll be sure. I know Marcus needs to get some, so I'll make sure I get some out to him.
you got that
You're
right.
You got that right.
CJ, you're close enough. You're like over the bridge. You're about 30 minutes away, so you can come anytime.
Grab me some of that Snickers. I like that one.
Yes. So, obviously, Devin, man, you have a background for sports. Sounds like, you've given back to the community, because there's a lot of things that you could have, chose as a profession, but it sounds like you are a service guy, which is why we bring people on to call out. Like, a lot of people think that we're doing this called out session to just get on here and just, flip the middle finger to competitors and say, get on stage. But that's not the case.
Uh,
Obviously, you're a sounds like you're a father. Sounds like you're a mentor, obviously, to the kids, uh, and you're also an entrepreneur, man. What got
mhm.
you into bodybuilding?
So it actually all started. I believe it was going into the 2016 uh, year, where I happened to go to the Europa was having the last one they did down in Atlantic City, and I happened to just go down and kind of just check it out, see what it was like. And as I'm down there, and I'm just like a regular weightlifter at this point, I'd actually just finished up with arena football out in Wichita. So they actually, like, I'm walking around just meeting people, hanging out, and people keep asking me, "Oh, do you compete? Do you compete?" I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "I don't know anything about that." So it wasn't something I was really into at the time, but then it was like people were asking and asking. So I kind of looked into it a little bit. And then later on, I happened to run into his name's Rich Tuma. He's an IFBB pro, and he has his own supplement company as well. Um, I ran into him and kind of just got to talking, and actually started working with him, and he kind of helped me, give me some pointers, do's and don'ts, and I got started in the NPC. Um, my first show was actually my birthday in 2016. So
Nice.
I went from never thinking about doing a show. I think it was like probably July or August of 2015, and then to April 1st doing my first show, prepping. I think maybe like 7 or 8 weeks.
Hmm.
Nice, man. Nice. It's funny. A lot of us competitors, man, when we were initially into the sport, people say, "What got you into it?" And it's the questions. Do you compete?
Yep.
Do you compete? So that's like that spark bug. Like, what?
What?
Huh?
What's that?
Yeah.
So that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's
It's
like
awesome.
you never heard of it, and then like people are asking, you're checking it out, and you're like, you know what? Let me do it. And you go out there, and then like, you get your competitive juices flowing, and you're just ready to go out there and put the work in. Just see what you can bring to the stage. Ultimately, it's just all you're really focused on. And then you happen to come out with, a few wins along the way. It's pretty nice.
That's real. That's
I see
great,
that
man.
you started. You said you started in the NPC.
Yep.
Did you do a classic physique show there?
No, so I started, so 16 and 17, I was men's physique. So I did, I believe, 4 shows my first year, and I came in second the first 3 shows, and I won my fourth. And then the next year, I did 2 shows. One show, and then the other show was Team Universe, where everybody gets exposed at that show. So,
We just were talking about that last segment. Yep.
yeah, yeah.
At least the
So,
natural guys.
yeah. So, I got on stage with those guys, and I was the smallest guy on stage for my height class. Um, I'm about 6'4". I was probably 190 pounds on stage, and the lowest guy was probably maybe like 210, 215, and the heaviest guy was like 230, 240.
That's a big difference, man. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
what brought you to the classic world?
so that brings us to 2018. That's when I kind of really found out about natural bodybuilding, looked into it, and then that got me into the OCB. And the first show I did was Battle for the Belt, and that's Joe Franco's show.
Heard
And
great things about that show.
uh, and so with the NPC, I was so used to being able to cross over and do classic physique and men's physique. So I signed up for both, thinking I can do both. And he was like, I didn't realize that at OCB you can only do one. And he was like, you got to pick. And I was like, I just kind of asked a couple people like, what should I do? And they were like, do classic. So I was like, all right. And then it was just me trying to work on my poses and kind of just figure out what I can do, what I need to work on. And ultimately it ended up working out for me, and able to get my pro card at that show.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, man. With the obviously you've been to the NPC, you've competed there. Obviously, you like myself went. I don't know why we picked the universe, but hey, I picked the universe too. And then we all get smoked because they're not looking for what we have to offer.
Uh, you know you,
Natural physiques.
know what it is? It's probably because like, so you win a couple shows. Like, so I won my last show the year before, and then I'm like, okay, I'm definitely gonna do Universe. And then I come in next year, do the show right before it. I think it was literally a week or 2 weeks before it. I do that show. I win that show. So you're on that high horse, like I'm going. so so I was like, oh, I'm gonna be good. And then you get out there, and then you see how big all these guys are, and then
Yeah.
you're like
See how
I'm
big
not.
the pharmacy is, right?
It's like,
Yeah. So it's
So
like,
that kind of leads me into, you're choosing these shows, you're choosing these organizations. Obviously, the NPC would know what that's about. You sounds like you spent some time in an OCB. what led you to kind of choosing that organization that you're currently in right now? If you are even kind of dialed into one organization, what kind of led you to where you are organization wise?
So currently I've been doing shows like this year. I did a show with the AMBF, and as of right now, that's the only organization planning on probably doing a show um, with no disrespect to the other ones at all, because OCB, like I don't really know anything about like the NGA and the NFF and those other ones. I've never done a show in them. So the main two for me has just been the OCB and AMBF. But AMBF, a lot of great promoters within that that are great people. But with the AMBF, it was just overall different. You almost feel like with Kent, the president, he puts a little bit more, I would say, love into the shows and the competitors and showing them more appreciation. Chris, because you did the show, the same show I did in May. You're backstage, and there's cookies and there's
Ice
snacks and
cream.
waters and things like that for you. He, everybody's getting nice little cool goodie bags. He's talking. He ends up showing a lot of love to all the competitors um, at the shows. It's just really fun atmosphere. And then the venue, House of Independence, that we had the show at, is just an overall amazing venue. Like lighting is top of the line. Like
Yes, sir.
like probably best lighting that I've been on stage with. So it's just things like that with the lighting and just the overall love that he's showing the competitors is kind of what's keeping me in that organization.
That show
Also,
felt like a concert, bro. It felt
yeah,
like
So
you was about to perform at a concert when you went on the stage.
So it sounds like from what I hear you saying is that you chose this organization. I hear you mentioning Kent. Obviously, he's the owner of the organization. So it sounds like from the promoter standpoint, he does a very good job at promoting the shows that he's ahead of, which
yep,
kind of draws us into some questions that we'll be kind of getting into and sharing a lot more on this segment. So as a promoter, I wonder how much of that is how much of that experience is promoter driven versus organization driven. So it sounds like he's a very good promoter, and that's why you're choosing that
yeah.
organization, because you had a good experience with him as a promoter. So that's okay.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Also, yeah. Also, the first show I did for him, we actually had pizza backstage, so that was a big plus. That was a big plus in my book. So I was like, yeah, I'm here to stay, Kent.
I think it's the pizza, the ice cream, and the cookies that kept him, man.
Yeah, that's it. Ice cream, pizza, and cookies is all I need, and I'm good to go. I'm not going nowhere. You got me for life.
I know I kind of felt bad at that show. Dev had the good old ice cream back there. He offered me some, and I'm like this. No, not today,
Mar-
baby.
Mar-
I'm
I got a show to win.
that ice cream
Mar-
down.
Marcus, I was offering the ice cream. Everybody was having it. Everybody was talking it up, and then he's the one guy that's like, "Oh nah,
I got
I
the
got
show
to
next week.
I got a show next week. I got this. I got that." It's like, uh, come on. And then he ate a cookie.
And then
So now we know his kryptonite. Now we know his. So maybe it ain't the ice cream; it's the cookies. That's his kryptonite.
Yep. Hey,
it definitely
keep
had
those
to.
keep those Eric Shelton cookies away.
Oh yeah, yeah. We don't want no more of those. I'm sorry, they're too delicious. So, what else goes into you picking the show? Besides the ice cream, pizza, the cookies, and the water backstage.
I'm I'm pretty lazy, so I need a show close to me. Like I really don't feel like I'm not like you, Chris. Like you'll fly out to California for an NGA or AMBF show like it's nothing. Like I'm not gonna do that. Like for me, like the main thing is like the location being being nice and close, just because I'm just lazy. It's like I just wanna focus on getting on stage, getting that over with, and just being able to relax and not like having to worry about traveling and then having to worry about a hotel and stuff like that. Plus, I'm cheap and I don't want to spend extra money on that.
He said, I understand. I understand. It hasn't been easy for me. I've definitely learned some lessons about flying and then trying to do a show. It's not the same as just driving up and hey, I'm here. Let's go. Let's go.
Did you gain any water weight?
I sure did. I sure
Yeah.
did. But those are the lessons you learn through these trials. That's why we try new things.
So Dev, tell me, man, what's your opinion of a pro, athlete? What would be your opinion of a pro athlete?
Uh, so a pro athlete, the main thing is having a having a really good balance of being bringing the main thing is bringing a nice conditioned look on stage, but then also having a good amount of size and proportions. Posing is a big thing. Like that's probably the biggest thing. Like you shouldn't be on stage as a pro and not be able to pose well. Like you should be able to at that point you should be able to have met with some type of posing coach or reached out to somebody that can possibly help you for free because there's plenty of people that'll help you out for free. Reach out to somebody and get that worked on so that somebody can help you and help you display your physique the best that you can. Like that's the main thing. You gotta be able to, it's show your strength, hide your weaknesses is the whole thing because everybody has a weakness or weaknesses, and it's just how can you keep yours from being displayed. Um,
So
the main thing like that I kind of look for in a pro.
so
Like
let's
it's
bring this a little bit outside of bodybuilding. That like what's your natural definition of a professional athlete? What is a professional athlete to you? Outside
uh
of bodybuilding, let's say if I'm going to call somebody a pro, what attributes should they have?
for one you have to be good at what you do. You don't have to necessarily be the best, but you have to be good because with everything there's the really high level guys and then there's still guys that are lower but still are able to play well enough to be professionals. So it's like you just have to be, pretty much just I would say well enough. Like
Oh,
you shouldn't come on, like back to bodybuilding. You shouldn't come on stage not lean enough. And I don't mean like, you spill over and then you kind of look washed out. I mean like you should look like you actually put your effort into getting on stage. You know, your with your diet and your training is just like all the practices that people put in the off season and things like that to get ready for, a game or match or something like that. It's the same thing.
gotcha. So, as a pro athlete and as the pro that you are, in terms of the way the sport is going, how do you feel like you can best utilize that pro status for one, and turn it into, incentives and turn it into, I wouldn't say a business, but make it incentivized because as pro athletes, across the board, there's a lot of pros. When people quantify what's a pro, they're getting compensated well. There's some incentives. How do you feel like the sport in the from the organization down, or even from the promoters down? How do you feel like that could be enhanced from the organizational level down? What things do you look for as the pro that you are? What things do you feel the sport in itself could do to incentivize us as pros to keep us, at the at least feeling and having that status quo to be treated as pros? What are your thoughts on that?
So I'm guessing depending on the organization and the shows and stuff like that, maybe it's which some I know some organizations already do this, but like maybe like a discount for signing up as a pro up until a certain point. Having really an incentive is being a pro. Maybe you're getting percentages off of different things within whatever it is that you're competing in. So like, like let's say it's OCB and they have apparel or things like that they're selling. Well, maybe, they're offering OCB pros a discount on apparel, instead of, you get 20% off when you buy an OCB shirt, or even for some shows, they give out shows like, the presidential is going to give out shirts this year. Like, but things like that where it's like they give you stuff or you get discounts off. Hey, maybe you don't have to. Maybe you only pay $25 for your polygraph test. Maybe something like that with the OCB. Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So driving the cost down, making it more efficient, so that maybe you can fly out like Chris to go to different venues. If you didn't have to pay
Yeah.
for polygraphs and you didn't have to pay for shirts and things like that,
Yeah.
sounds like that's what you're saying, that could incentivize the pro, make us feel like pros.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because things like a polygraph are a waste of money. But I mean, that's a different topic altogether. But I mean, like that's the main thing from me talking to other pros who were within the organization. The That's just a complete waste of money. It doesn't That doesn't really deter somebody from doing a show. And that's just me knowing somebody that has done it and literally passed the test, won the show, and then failed the urine test. Like you just ruined, whoever second place was, you just ruined his moment on stage, to enjoy his win. Instead, they're just shipping out, a trophy to him that he just put on display. But in that moment, you didn't get to enjoy it.
So I just seen a question pop up. And it was a question I actually wanted to get into myself. What are some of the things the pros should be doing to help promote the shows? That was from
So,
Mr.
like,
Martin Drake.
that was from who?
Mr. Martin Drake.
Oh, so one thing is just like kind of what you guys are currently doing, and that's just talking these shows up, putting it on your story, going live, doing the stories, doing all of that, where you're like, hey, hey Marcus, hey Chris, hey Eric, hey Keith, I'm gonna be at this show. Pull up to the show. Let's go. You guys doing that stuff is gonna help elevate and wanna get more guys to come to the show. At the amateur level, that's harder to do because you just don't know who's doing the show. You don't find out until, the week before.
Get that
And
list, and it's like, homework
yeah,
time.
yeah, at least like, if you happen to just be on Instagram, you see somebody doing cardio, where you can call them out and be like, hey, look, hey, come to the show. If you want some real work, come to the show, do this and that. It's like, doing what's currently going on with you guys is gonna help to elevate it. And that's probably also going to help the promoters, look out for um, the athletes even more, because if they, as they see this building and they see you guys getting people to come to shows, you guys doing all these videos and stuff like that. Well, now they're gonna be like, hey, come out to the show, come sign up, come do this show. We need you here. Push the show, because it's just gonna help everybody. Everybody's gonna be able to raise themselves up a level. So just keep doing what you're doing.
So basically, by like, to answer the question a little short for me, is bringing attention to the sport as it's needed.
Yeah,
Everybody that jumps on a live, they're not bodybuilders. So some people, they know nothing about the sport. And then they see somebody like Marcus. Marcus is very intense when he's on live, like very intense. He's talking about the Stairmaster from hell, and you can see how he's passionate about what he's doing. So things like that, they bring attention to fans, and once fans start to create, ticket sales. I would say it just like that because they want to see us perform. It's just like a wrestling match. I wanted to see The Rock and Stone Cold for the longest just because of the animosity that they show between each other. I would have paid for a WrestleMania ticket. So I think basically that's what Cold Out's been about from the beginning is generating a fan base. I think that's what the pros can do as well. Like, so I agree. I definitely agree with what you're saying. What's your take on it, Marcus?
Man, I'm right in line. I'm right abreast with you. The more we promote and the more we collaborate as athletes, band together and, support again the promoters who are doing, the work, they're incentivizing the athletes. It's one thing I think from, organizations from the top down to set standards. And on the other hand, I believe that the promoter has a job to do, which we can obviously band together and help out. But for the promoters who are doing the work, it only works to help out the promoters that the athletes kind of band together and say, hey, man, let's pinpoint these shows to show up to generate those ticket sales to get get what you call fans behind us. They want to see the big names. They want to see people progressing. Hey, I remember him at that last show, but look at what he looks like now. They're better able to trend us. I think Aegis put in the comments as well, banding together with some of the amateur athletes. And to answer the question about, athletes from the amateur level, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, until I get my card, you know what I mean? I ain't telling nobody I'm showing up. But once you get in, because everybody, there's only so many pro cards that's coming out, so you're gonna have to compete. So us as athletes banding together to really build the sport, bring the amateurs with us, build each other up, and collaborate and coordinate with the promoters who are actually putting in the work, and that can be from organization to organization.
Brings us to the next question. What's the work? Like, I got a question for both of you guys. What is the work that the promoter needs to do to throw a great show?
Deven?
No doubt, for you too, Betty.
Yeah, I don't know why he pushed it on me. So it's tough. It's tough because ultimately it comes down to the athletes themselves. Because realistically, the promoter can only do so much promoting, and if he's promoting but nobody's really interested, there's nothing that they can do. So it's still, to me, it's still, you need both. So it's like, if anything, they have to maybe reach out to a few guys that have, like, let's say, done one of their shows before, or guys that they know are in the area that are close enough that it's just easy for them to get to the show. And it's just like, hey, look, I got this show this day. Come on now. Especially if they know that you're competing, like, a couple weeks after. Well, maybe they're pushing you to come do their show. That's 2 weeks before. This way, maybe you come get a little extra money. Maybe you at least, maybe try something different for a peak week. But
Yeah,
that's what
I
I
mean,
say.
yeah, and I'm with you. So one of the few things that I look at is which promoters are going to bat. If you're not reaching out to athletes to help pack the stage, how can we know to come to your show? So as you mentioned, who's done your show before? How can you get one athlete like Chris with his big loud mouth to go barking around and recruit other people in? I joke about that, but it works.
It does.
This dude is calling me out. I'm about to go compete with Chris to shed his mouth. Even if he gives me the smoke or not.
Yeah.
But it's that type of us helping the promoters, and as well as what is guaranteeing a payout. Hey, let's be honest, money talks,
Yeah.
right? If you can guarantee a payout and not this tier system, I might get paid. It just puts a little bit more of an incentive on that. It prompts us to want to come and sign up. who's doing a roster list, who's promoting the show as people sign up. When you know, people are visual. When I saw people competition come across the screen, I'm like, I want to be there. You know, that's the place that's the building and the stage that I want to be. So promoters who go the extra mile and actually put the work in to actually promote, show what athletes are coming, if they not scared to kind of actually say where they're going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, it's that type of deal. Who's guaranteeing payouts? Who's setting the right stage, setting the right venue? Um, there you go. Who has a good who has, well, I ain't gonna get into the rest of the show, but who's guaranteeing a credible source to tan us? You know, it's that type of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's Marcus's thing, man. Y'all want Marcus to come to your show? You gotta have professional tanner. You tell him you got professional tanning at your show, I guarantee you he's on his way.
See, I'm lucky. I got my wife. She does. You know, we pretty much nail my tanning like pretty much every time. So like I don't gotta worry about that. I don't gotta worry about spending any extra money on the tanning. Fortunately, you know, I got her backstage with me. Just we do the color right. You know, I ask her, I need a little shine. Nah, you're good. All right, I'm good. You know, then so
So I see Big Keith. He said the athletes need to also register early so promoters can get big sponsors to their shows. That makes a lot of sense as well. You
that,
know,
yeah.
by the athletes registering early, you have a bigger of a head count of, you know, what's going on and you know what to prepare for. Not to cut you off and let you go right in 2 seconds there, because I also seen Mark's comment that kind of answered the question as well. It was about having a great venue. I saw an interview with them, I believe, yesterday, and it said location was everything. Destination, not location. It was the destination. So because his show is being thrown in Atlantic City, even after the show, I could go walk on the boardwalk. You know, I've dieted. I've made all of these sacrifices. Shoot, I can go show off now. Let me go on the beach after I lose to 2020 again, something like that. Things like that. The venue, the lighting, just the overall experience. When I say, or I asked the question, I was looking to see what type of troubles or, you know, what type of things can be prevented or helped from a promoter's aspect. Because, you know, when you go into promoting a show, I've promoted club parties before, and it's like, yo, I'm going to put out this this flyer. I'm going to have this person on it, or this person that's, you know, a rapper, you know, a popular artist to draw people in, and that helps. But what else goes into it is more the question. What is the promoter responsible for, and what kind of help can they get from maybe, like, say, an organization? Like, what can be helped to, you know, make these shows run easier to provide more athletes or incentivize more athletes to come?
That's a great question, man. Those are great ideas too, man.
Hey,
you got anything, Marcus?
Hey, man, you know, I got a lot to say. You know, I want to you know, I got a lot to say on that. Again, man, starting from the top down, you know, the organization is the platform that will draw in the promoter. Promoter does the work to draw in the athletes. We band together, create a great, awesome turnout. You know, that's, you know, how much the organization will support the promoter. I mean, I'm not into the promotion, so I don't really know, but that'll be some great questions to bring up from people who are actually promoting. How much do you lean on the organization? How much is on the promoter? I'm a guy that you know, I operated and built the business from the ground up, and I understand I had to get my, I didn't expect anything to be handed to me, so I know that the promoters probably have to show their what they're willing to do maybe before the organizations get behind them and give them the support that they need. I mean, I don't really know what levels go into that, but what I do know is that, I mean, I've heard this time and time again, you can have an awesome show with 10, 12 people, you know. You can do that, but what was incentivized? How do you grow? How did you get those athletes to show up? What was their experience like? You know, there's a lot that can be done from the organization as well as promoters. But the question would be, which I don't have the answers to, is where do you find that happy balance at to get? Because ultimately, the person who suffers at the end of the day are the athletes and the fans. You know,
promoters are paying a lot for venues, trophies, getting judges backstage, help is way more than that. It seems like more than that. Just to piggyback off what Eric's saying, how about judging? Like, what type of standards can be set? Like, I know you're big on standards, Marcus. What kind of standards could be set, like organization wide, to make it easier on that promoter, so they have the time to actually go out and promote and actually get athletes, opposed to looking for a venue, trying to find the trophies, running around. Man, I watched Daryl's post every day when he was doing the Florida State Natural, and he was doing a lot. He's like, yo, I just drove to get the trophies. Like Superman. It's like, what type of organization standards could be set to help propel the sport to make it easier for promoters, which in turn to make it easier for athletes?
Man, this is now you're really about to make me create smoke now, man. I mean, I don't know who toes I'm gonna step on with this, but maybe here's the deal, and this is just one man's opinion. Maybe we have a lot less shows and make the shows count. If you're gonna put pros in your show, it has to count. Don't leave it up to me to have to select to try and compete with 4 competitors. Bring down the shows, increase the volume of the competitors just showing out. So essentially what I'm saying is let's make some better quality shows, and then you can get behind less promoters.
Nice.
Make the shows count. So, and that's just one man's point of view. I could be totally wrong because I know nothing. But if I was running a business in an organization, if I'm looking out for the athletes and the fans, if that's what I really cared about, I'll break down a lot of the shows and increase the quality, and then build as your demand builds. That way you get the quality over quantity. That could be just one avenue that we can do. And then guess what? The organizations can get behind promoters. But when you have promoters running around, and this is no shot to anybody, when you have promoters running around with 6 shows,
one
and
day,
there's 4, or promoters in general, they own 6 shows within one organization. How am I going to choose in the same state? How am I going to choose? How am I going to choose which one I'm going to do? So that's just one man's point of view, man. Now you got me throwing smoke.
And let's get your point of view, Dad.
Another thing is probably, I would say, if you're actually in the area, like near some of these bigger shows, I would say, I actually heard Kent talk about this too. Maybe you even piggyback off of another organization that has a show around the same time. This way, competitors can go back to back on some of these shows, especially if they're within the area. So like let's say Joe Franco for the OCB has a show, and then Kent has a show 2 weeks later. Well, now you can do one show, hopefully win, and then do another show 2 weeks later because you're feeling good, and then win that show too. And it's just like, it's just keep getting, just help you to just get out there, and then you're just promoting both of these shows. And then it's just like, hey, I'm coming in on point on this show, but wait till you see me 2 weeks later at this show.
Sure. Or you could be like Chris and just hit 6 shows in the same month. You don't even care. 2 a week. I ain't never seen nobody compete 2 times in 1 week.
Like when I watched this video, and he was running through the shows, and he was like, I got a show first week in June, second week in June, third week in June, fourth week in June, third week in July, second week in August. I'm like, bro,
you need to sit down.
I'm like, bro, you're gonna burn yourself out. You doing all them shows.
Is it Chris's fault, or was it the promoter's fault who putting all them shows and making him do them?
So I looked at it like this. So when an experience like that, guys, I was able to experience all different organizations, right? I seen with not all, a few of them, a few different organizations. I seen what they offered, how they treated the athletes, and what they were able to do. Some of them, I'll tell you the truth, like between me, I guess this is in front of the world. Florida, the Florida State Natural, if it wasn't promoted so well, I would have took a break then. Like, I wanted a cheeseburger so bad. I'm like, you know what? But I couldn't let Daryl down. Like he promoted that show so well. The back and forth between 2020, even if I was going not to place, like I didn't, it was probably the most exciting thing I've done this year. The meet and greet was excellent. I really felt like a professional athlete. I think I asked you, what do you think a professional athlete was a little bit earlier? My professional is to be treated like that. I walked into that venue, I felt like I was LeBron James. It's like everybody knew who I was. Like, hey, Chris, I'm like this. How are you? Hey, how are you? Oh man, the shoe again. Hey, how are you? That feeling, it left me like on a high. Like I didn't even care I lost. I'm like, you know what? I got pictures with fans. I have fans.
Yeah.
That's the experience I look for as a professional athlete, and that's what I would hope all promoters would look to do for their athletes. I think things like that are needed to build the sport because, you know, I got a nice little fan base now. Even when I'm not competing, I'm still, good job. You know, I've created a fan base for myself. And I know 20 got one for himself as well. He's winning all of them. I know they're telling him, go kick his butt again. Like, I hear it all.
So I tell you what, man, Dev, man, you had a lot of great ideas, man. We really appreciate you coming on to the show and giving us some of your ideas. Best of wishes to you for all the things that you're going to do in the future, man. Best of luck with what you do in your ventures for the ice cream shop too, man.
Hey, let him in.
Let him in. Oh,
up, guys?
The man himself. How you doing, Mr. Mark?
Man, you guys are killing it on here. Wow.
Appreciate it.
I'm impressed with everything you're saying, and I figured I gotta intrude and bring some things to light for everybody.
Never an intrusion. You're always welcome anytime.
I appreciate that. I was looking through some of the comments, and there's great comments and some of the things you were saying on how what the promoters could do to help out and what you guys could do to help out. And wow, there's about 4 or 5 organizations right now that are trying to talk and bring some things to light and put things together for everybody. So there is equal criteria across the board, equal judging standards across the board. So these things they're happening. They're happening. It might not be in some of the traditional places that we all think they would be happening, but it's happening. There's some agreements in place already that we're all trying to finalize. But everything we do, and especially like with the Mr. America, you see what I'm doing. I promote with an organization also. However, I only could do so much from an organization standpoint. I only could do so much at the shows that I run, right? So I know somebody brought up something before about following the promoters who are putting in the work. That's the absolute best thing you can do. Unless organizations are going to, swallow their pride and come out and say, hey, you know what? We've been doing this for our pockets and not for the athletes. There's going to be a ton of organizations. So the best thing to do is, absolutely follow the promoters. If a promoter bounces around from organization, but he runs good shows, go there, man. That's what you got to do. Our sport could be, I can't even think of a word of how great it could be, but those are the things that it takes is you guys, banding together, coming out, support the promoters who are supporting you. I mentioned in a comment before that there needs to be great venues. Listen, what professional sport takes place in a high school auditorium? What professional sport takes place at the Days Inn? What professional sport takes place at your local junior high school? That's not respecting athletes. Letting somebody get on stage that passes a polygraph and then fails a urine test, that's not respecting athletes.
Oh,
you guys are pros. You need to be treated like that. Would the NFL ever go play at the grammar schools, beat up, field in the back? It's not going to happen. There's no different. Listen, does the NFL charge professional athletes to play the game?
Nope.
Right? This is the only sport that we're charging the professional athletes to take part in it. There's a lot of reasons for that. Is that going to go away anytime soon? I'd love to see that. If I was in a better position and as the Mr. America grows, you know what? Mark my words, as this grows, it will be free for the professional athletes down the road. There's no reason we should be taking your money. You're already paying for an athlete card. Let's look at it this way. I do coaching, and I know some of you guys do too, right?
Yes, sir.
So for a female athlete, just say it's going to take 4 months of prep, right? It's going to be $2,000 for her trainer, $200+ for a bikini, $100 for shoes, maybe $50 per posing session, right? so she could work on her posing, $100 for hair, $100 for makeup, travel, hotel. She's invested $4,000 or $5,000 and then has to pay $250 or $300 to step on that stage. Come on, that's not right. Why are we doing that? You know, the men see it a little bit differently. You know, you spend $40 on some trunks, you know, $20 on a bottle of protein, you're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the female athletes, you know, and right now that's who's driving the sport, man. You know, bikini is huge, and look at the money that goes into it. Ask any of the female competitors how much it costs for them to get on stage that one time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I know, Chris, man. When you mentioned the shorts, Chris has me going to get custom shorts now. It's him. He's making my short collection go through the roof, and I'm like, I cannot let Chris outdo me on shorts, so I'm gonna go get my own custom shorts too.
I think there was a bet I heard about. If one of you wins at a show, the other one has to buy the shorts.
Oh, that's me and Mr. ZR.
All right.
So,
I think that should be a good thing. Everybody behind third place has to pitch in $10 for new trunks.
I love it. Pay it up, rookies.
Yeah, but you know, that's the type of respect I'm talking about that we need in the sport, and it needs to happen on all levels. You know, so how does that happen? You know, again, big sponsors like we talked about before. You know, not Joe's Bikini Service. That's not going to cut it. You know, when I say big sponsors, you know, $10,000 per class. You know, if there's 6 pro classes, that's $60,000 worth of sponsorships, right? I know Sam's promoted a show, you know, and I don't mind putting some numbers out there. On a local level show that I promote, I'm looking between $10,000 and $12,000. Sponsors aren't putting up not even half of that for a local show. So that money's got to come from somewhere. So that's part of the reason there is entry fees, right? We want to supply a great experience for you. Somebody's got to pay for it somewhere. You know, as a promoter, we can't just give it away. You know, the Mr. America last year, I lost, you know, to the tune of $30,000, and I came back for seconds.
I love it, man.
I'm doing it for the athletes. I'm doing it for the athletes. I said last night on Sam's show, hey, you know, like this year, I'm not making my money back. I'm going deep. I'm going deep in, but it's something I believe in, right? We have to start getting, you know, sponsors on that level. Yeah. You know, which brings me to my next point. You guys are professional athletes. You're at the top of your game in your respective organizations and in your classes. Do not whore yourself out for powder. Why be a brand ambassador making ABC Nutrition Organization all that money, and they're going to give you $2 on a tub of protein?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
You guys are not whores. Let the companies keep treating you like whores, and it's not going to get better.
I like this guy.
Well, listen, that's the truth. That's the truth. Nobody wants to say it, and definitely nobody wants to say it publicly. I'll do it.
So
you know, the girls, you know, hey, I'm a brand ambassador. Use my code. I get 10% of your sale. So I go buy protein for $30. She gets $3.
Yeah.
You know, she spent an hour photoshopping a picture to put it up for that protein.
Mr. Mark, I got a few questions for you. You know, just in case anybody doesn't know, what is the Mr. America show?
What is it? It's the granddaddy of them all.
Okay.
This is what started everything.
Okay. It started everything. What type of events will be thrown at Mr. America?
Oh my God! So we have bodybuilding happening, strongman competition on Saturday, Olympic weightlifting, Moss wrestling, powerlifting, expo. Not sure how big it's going to be, but there's going to be an expo.
Okay.
We're also going to have a kids hip hop dance competition. So we're looking at 600 athletes throughout the weekend across 5 or 6 different sports.
Okay.
You know, and the expo. So it's an all weekend long event. You know, nothing like this has ever been done in natural bodybuilding. You know, there's, you know, like some of the larger stuff is out there, you know, that the Arnold or the Olympia. You know, I know Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is trying to put on something called Athleticon, which is supposed to rival the Arnold. It's failed the past 3 years in a row that he's tried to do it. So it's hard to pull these things off. But that's what I'm here doing. I'm making it happen and giving natural sports, drug-free sports, the platform it deserves.
I see you with Mr. America. I know it's going to be televised on July 22nd for the last one.
Yeah. So last year's event
to put it on TV. like to broadcast the sport?
What happened to do that?
What made you want to go the extra mile?
You guys are professional athletes. You deserve it. That's what made me go the extra mile. You know, all these other professional sports are on TV. Why aren't we? Right? And I found out a lot of stuff dealing with the TV networks and different, big companies. I'm not going to mention the company, but one very, very large company. It's at every single mall across the country. They said, well, what is this? We looked this up and we found there are dozens of natural bodybuilding organizations. Which one is the Mr. America with? So with that, we explained that, hey, we're non-sanctioned. And they said, what does that mean? I explained that. And then they came to the table, because how do they go and support one organization over another, right? How do they support, ABC organization and not XYZ, right? Which is part of the reason these big companies aren't throwing money behind what we do. But on the flip side of that, the NPC and the IFBB is one place. It's not a big deal for them to send all their money to that company and support it. Pro bodybuilders in the Olympia is like $400,000 payday.
Sure is.
You guys aren't going to make $400,000 in your entire career competing in natural bodybuilding unless we start getting big sponsors. Unless promoters and organizations start realizing, like, hey, I'm obviously only doing it for my own pocket. I don't care about the athletes. Sure. There's townships and organizations right now on the same weekend. There's 2 or 3 different organizations all holding a show in the same damn town. And it just keeps happening. You're watering down the sport.
Sure.
So, from an athlete's perspective, how do you pick and choose? Okay, so I live in Nashville and, there's 3 shows in Nashville. Which show do I go do? How do you come up with that? And how do you tell a sponsor, like, yeah, I don't know how many athletes I'm going to have because there's 2 other events going on at the same time.
It makes sense.
So there's a lot of things that need some tweaking and some fixing. And, it's up to the athletes to start realizing, where you should throw your support. And that's how things are going to get better.
I noticed you said sanctioned. For those that don't understand the difference, what's the difference between a sanctioned and a non-sanctioned event?
Okay, so, I know you guys compete OCB, NGA. So if you go to an OCB show, the OCB is the governing body that's looking out for the rules and the regulations and the judging criteria and the standards that's happening at that event, right? And normally the promoter pays a fee to the organization, $500, $1,500, or however they break it down. It's different everywhere. And then you get that sanction and you could run an OCB show or an NPC show or an NGA show. As a non-sanctioned event, I'm not being governed by one particular organization that says, hey, you have to do a polygraph, you have to use our photographer, and by the way, it's the same person. That's not what we're doing. We took the some of the best criteria that I've seen. Listen, I've been doing this 22 years. I couldn't even tell you how many athletes I've had in shows or how many shows I've been to, but I've been through a bunch of different organizations, and there's some organizations that do things better than others. So those are all things that I've been looking at over the years, and we're trying to take the best of all of that, put that together, one event, everybody's welcome. You don't have to buy an athlete card to come compete at the Mr. America. You don't have to be a member of that particular organization. You want to do an NGA show, you have to buy an athlete card. You go to the OCB, you have to buy an athlete card. You go to, the ANBF, you have to buy an athlete card. The Mr. America, you don't have to do that. So that's a big cost savings right there, $75 to $150 right off the bat. So it's we're doing everything we could to help the athlete at this point. Saving $150 is great. If you want to compete as a pro, you do have to have a valid athlete card with one of these organizations, right? Because I'd be the biggest scumbag in the world if I took pros who didn't have valid cards, right? and I'm trying to work with all the organizations to make things better. So the one thing I could do is, like, hey, if you're a PNBA athlete, you have to have a valid PNBA card to do the Mr. America. So that's my contribution to those organizations. We have an organization that's actually sponsoring the show. Another organization coming to sponsor the show. So
wow.
What's that tell you? Like, wow, that organization, they care about the athlete.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be put in front of you. They want you to meet them. They want to meet you. That's great. I think all the organizations should be coming out to do this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I wanna talk maybe a little bit more specific to say the Mr. America.
Sure.
I've been following, just you take the sport in general, and as Sammy likes to say, we are a subculture. We're talking about bodybuilding, but more specific, we're talking about natural bodybuilding.
Right.
When you look at, I mean, I would think that, and this is what's been told to me, the enhanced or steroid non-promoted or steroid promoted, they would never be able to be televised on say for instance CBS that we're talking about because of the level of where they're competing and what they're doing to make their bodies look that way.
Right. Right.
So for us as natural bodybuilding, we're almost in a sense setting a new standard, setting the standard because we're able to be televised to the world,
Right.
on something like CBS, which is something that maybe the enhanced division will never get to do. Yes, they can do pay-per-view. I believe that the Olympia was televised on, I believe, Amazon. You can catch it and do a pay-per-view.
Right.
But we're
But
talking about
that's a streaming
CBS.
service. That's different, right?
Sure. So, I mean, that speaks volumes of what type of standard and where we fall and fit in the mix for the sport in itself, subculture in a sense, natural bodybuilding. So I think I
Right.
didn't want that to be overlooked. I want to
So-
shed light on us having that sport being at the podium that it's on.
And that's a great point. And we're talking with national networks. We're not paying Amazon to put us on there to do a pay-per-view. We're not putting this on YouTube. This is a national sports network, right? So look at it like this. The NFL is drug tested. Major League Baseball is drug tested. The NBA is drug tested. The Olympics are drug tested. They're all on TV, right? That's the level you're at.
Well said.
In the PNBA, we like to talk about how great our testing is and that, we're Olympic compliant. We're doing some of the best testing out there. And yeah, there's still room to improve, but the national networks, they want drug tested events. Once they heard it was drug tested, it was a game changer. It was a game changer. So, we're all doing the right thing. We just need the right person leading it. I'm not saying I'm that person. I just happen to be in the forefront of what's happening here and trying to get that recognition for everybody.
Sure. So it sounds like you're saying that played a huge part in getting the natural athlete this televised.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
Okay.
that and the same thing with the national network is, when they do their research on everything. If I say, the sky is blue, they have 20 people going to check, right? So when we tell them it's natural bodybuilding, it's a non-sanctioned thing because I got to give them all that information. They ask me the same thing. Well, what does that mean? They go do their research, come back and like, we love this. So, I know what I'm doing is the right thing on all different levels. I know a lot of organizations aren't happy about it. I know a lot of athletes are confused about it, like what's going on. But, this is the big leagues. If you want to compete, you want to be on TV and elevate what you do personally. You have a business to promote or, you have little kids looking up to you or whatever it is, you're all somebody's hero out there. They're looking up to you.
Awesome.
That was a great
I
way
just
to
wanted
put
to
it.
really have the viewers understand what it's like, why it is televised, and what plays that part in us being on TV as natural athletes, and
Right.
why you
Right.
don't see the people who are, enhanced on TV like we're gonna be.
Yeah. It's it's all about keeping it clean. One of the things I brought up to Sam, and the cast of the reality show is, we talk about how we're natural bodybuilders, right? Where the enhanced guys or the other league, they don't say they're enhanced bodybuilders. They're just claiming bodybuilder.
Well
Okay.
said.
We all scroll through our feeds and we'll see on somebody's feed somewhere, oh, the best bodybuilder of all time. And it's a guy who was on, 2 grams of test a week, or laying in his bed on a product called DNP, just sweating for 5 days so he could get on stage. You know, how many times have you seen an enhanced top level guy 2 weeks prior to a show and you're like, man, this guy's never going to be ready. And then he gets on stage, you're like, oh, damn, I want his diet. No, you want to be taking the chemicals he's taking, right? And laying around, you know, half dead for 2 weeks, you know, running a fever of 105 degrees to get in that shape. But if the more we talk about how we're natural bodybuilding, we're putting ourselves as the minority. And when you do that, you become small, right? So the longer we keep saying we're natural bodybuilders, we're segregating ourselves into a subculture, right? Instead of that mainstream where we're looking to be.
Yeah.
You know, we are bodybuilders. What we do each and every day, you are building your body. You know, so why can't we adopt that and just say, yeah, I'm a bodybuilder, and what those other guys do is enhanced bodybuilding. You know, Major League Baseball doesn't say, you know, it's the Natural Baseball League, you know, or the drug-free baseball league, or the drug-free NFL. That's not happening, right? But you know, we have promoters running around like, oh, it's you know, the natural, you know, Florida show, like whatever it is. We're making ourselves smaller than we need to be.
Well, I can't speak. I don't know how the other guys feel, but I know, you know, people who follow us who really just don't know the sport. Sometimes it's when they look at, you know, a natural bodybuilder and they look at, you know, the other guys, they're not thinking, well, why don't you
Look like that?
Right, you know.
Yeah.
So I think having that title, man, we're natural, kind of lets them know, hey, this is how this was the process.
Right. I like to go with, you know, that you guys are all tested, you know, something along that line to separate it a little bit, that you compete in tested events, drug tested events, you know, or you know, I'm a drug-free bodybuilder, or hey, our sport doesn't allow drugs. That's why I'm not 265 on stage. I'm 185 or 195.
Sure.
Yeah. I use that a lot. I compete at tested events.
Right.
I do that not to offend the people that choose to go that route,
right.
But I also try to educate the people around me to why I choose to compete natural. I feel it's a little bit more safer.
Yeah. I mean, granted, listen, you know, the shape you guys get in on stage isn't the healthiest point, you know, you could be at in life, but yeah, it's definitely, you know, the long-term effects of drug, not so much drug use, but drug abuse to get to that level. Yeah, there's risks involved, and you know what? Natural pros probably make more money at shows than most IFBB pros. Yeah. There's IFBB shows that their prize money is only $1,000. You know,
especially if you're not open bodybuilding, like the 212, the men's physique, the classic guys, they make chump change compared to the open guys.
Right.
So you know they're doing all the work that we're doing, but less money, or just the same amount of money.
Right.
That's recognition. They're not going to be on TV.
Right. Is there? Let me ask you. I can't even put a dollar value on what something like that is worth to an athlete.
No.
You know, I can't think of anything.
I know, a few IG lives had us looking like mini celebrities in Florida, Marcus. Being on TV, I might be in the supermarket and it's like, hey, it's that 2-4 fit guy. That's the thing we're looking for.
Yeah. You know, the Mr. America is, you know, we have a slogan, you know, lifting the human spirit. And, you know, the idea is to help elevate people, right? To help you get to that next level, whatever that means, right? And whether it's through getting you exposure or, you know, putting you in front of, you know, one of the best run shows in the country, or, you know, paying you well, whatever that means, you know, that's what we're trying to do. We want to elevate everybody, get you to that next level.
You know, besides it being televised and it being an unsanctioned show, what are some of the different things we can expect at Mr. America opposed to like a show thrown by an organization?
I don't know where to start. So let's talk about the actual show from a spectator's point of view. We run a separate DJ. We run a separate MC, professional MC that does fights and who's been on TV, like, you know, you're going to be introduced by a professional, not the promoter of the show. You know, backstage, you know, your expediters aren't going to be walking around with shorts hanging off their asses. They're going to be dressed in suits or tuxedos. You know, you're going to know who your staff is. You know, you're going to have a camera crew running around trying to capture all of this. You know, the first time I was on set for one of the filmings that we did, I was in awe. Like, holy shit! Like, this is serious. And until you experience that, you're not really gonna get it. So I could talk up all of the great things that we're doing, you know, with the stage, you know, with you know, doing interviews and having celebrities interview you guys. Like, all that sounds great, but until it's happening to you, you're not gonna get it. You know, I know I put some trailers out there. I don't know if you guys know Eric the trainer. He's a Hollywood celebrity trainer, or Chef Andre Rush. You know, they were both at the show last year. Ryan Carnes, he's an actor in some soap operas. He's been on a bunch of stuff. You know, so we have celebrities coming out to the show. They're going to be interviewing you. You know, not the promoter's granddaughter, you know, with her cell phone, like, hey, I need to get this for Instagram for later. You know, this is the real deal.
It sounds interesting.
Awesome.
So it's looking like a professional level event. That'd be the biggest difference.
Right.
A professional show for the professionals.
That's the way it is. Yeah. And that's the way each and every pro show should be.
Do you have an amateur event as well here?
Yep. We do have amateurs also. So if you guys have some amateurs you want to put in the show, it is a pro qualifier. A bunch of different organizations stepped up to honor that. The organizations that we're working with, they all cross honor pro cards anyway. But yeah, so it is a pro qualifier. I put it out there. I'm not sure if everybody recognizes it, but it's also a Natural Olympia qualifier. It's an IPE Worlds qualifier. It's an AAU Universe qualifier. So you guys could go from the Mr. America to the AAU Universe or the IPE Worlds or to the Natural Olympia. Each one of those shows has its own level of prestige, right? The best part about this year, and I'm hoping it works out like this each and every year, almost every organization's year-end event is on a separate date. So you don't have to pick, like, wow, I want to do one of the world events. They're all on separate dates. You know, all those events are available to you, and you could qualify for most of them right through the Mr. America. So, you know, every thought process that goes into the way this show gets promoted and the way it gets put together, there's a reason for it, right? The dates I pick, there was a reason for it. There was no big year-end events happening. You know, there was no other, well, there weren't any, or too many local events happening that I would be pulling from. I don't want to pull from anybody. You know, I want this to be a standalone, bring everybody together. Let's have a kick-ass time. You know, let's win one of the greatest titles in the sport and go party afterwards. And you guys can go on your way and compete in one of these other big events at the end of the year.
I know I got to ask Marcus's big question. Like, this is the only thing that matters if he's going to a show or not.
Wait, Marcus, you in this show?
Oh.
Are you in the Mr. America? Can you handle the smoke that people are throwing out?
Well, first of all, if Chris is there, you know I have the one season finale for me to stick Chris again. I'm going to do it. All right. Gotta put Chris, close his mouth one more time for the year. See him next year at the Mr. America 2023, I guess.
I told you, so we got to cut that off real quick. Sorry, brother. You got the earlier ones. I'm going to get the one that counts.
You got people like, I need to get some revenge on. You got people like Showtime Keith showing up. I must kick his butt. You got people like who else is showing
his
up?
registration's in. His registration is in. He's prepping for the show.
Say no. Well, you know I'm going to sign up tonight. How about that?
All right.
I'll put my ticket in tonight. Put me on the card.
All right, you're in.
How much is that show, by the way? How much is it to
pros are $235.
$235.
Yeah.
Got it. And your judging panel comes from
everywhere.
Beautiful.
Every organization is going to be represented on the judging panel.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Yep. This way, there's no, there's the ANBF is bringing a team. So we're probably not going to have any ANBF judges on the panel because we want to keep it as fair as possible, and as competitive as possible.
Gotcha. Nice. Well, yeah, you can count me in. I'm going.
All right.
I'll be in Atlantic City. Never been.
Oh no, it's going to get wild.
Hey,
So I
hold on.
thought Florida was going to be one of the biggest shows. I think it'll actually be this one.
Yeah. This is
plan.
I
way
don't
it's
know
going.
too many bigger ones.
I ain't hear you, Dev.
The way this one is going, yeah,
Yes,
everybody's
sir.
gonna be up. Everybody's gonna be up here in Jersey that weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, question: as far as the pro cards that being accepted, do you have to be a pro in a certain division to compete in that division? Like, say, like Dev's a classic physique pro, but he's done men's physique before. Can he jump into men's physique?
Does your pro card specify classic physique?
No.
Then that's it.
Yeah.
You know, if your card specifies where you're a pro, that's where you're a pro. You know, some organizations, once you're a pro, you can compete in, you know, whatever class you want because you're a
Right.
professional. And some organizations, you know, if you're a professional in one division, you can't go compete as a professional in another.
Right.
Right. But if your card doesn't specify, I'm honoring each organization's rule on that.
Don't worry, Chris. You're safe. I'm not coming. Don't worry.
You know, I was just trying to make sure. That was a check real quick. That was it. That was it.
You don't
Yeah,
gotta
the other
worry.
thing that makes the Mr. America a little bit unique is, you know, we don't do crossovers.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, so you're not going to jump in classic and do, you know, men's physique or classic and bodybuilding. You know, you pick it, you own it, you get up there and you rock that.
And the payout, what's the ticket on that men's physique if it's not out yet already? I had to do
No,
it.
I haven't announced it yet. It's more than last year. I can tell you that. It's a healthy amount.
I heard the bodybuilder bag is about 5,000.
5,000 for first place. Not total, first place.
Nice.
So I don't know how close we're gonna get to that, but it's still more than last year.
And that's guaranteed, correct?
Guaranteed.
Ooh, that's a
Money
big
sitting
thing.
in the checking account, ready to go. I'm not waiting on sponsors, and I'm not going to pull no okey doke on anybody and tell you, oh, I can't pay you this year, but you could be a title sponsor next year. Nope, because that's been happening too around some of these shows.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh. Nope.
Listen, this is my neighborhood. I'm Italian. I'm from Jersey. I'm rocking a show in Jersey. My word's good as gold.
Good as gold. That's what we like to hear.
I love
Yeah,
it.
we don't play out here in Jersey. I believe.
So, guys, did this help answer a lot of your questions that you had about the other side of the sport, like from a promoter's perspective?
From what I got from a promoter's perspective, that they actually are responsible for doing a lot of the show.
Yeah.
Like everything.
Yeah, everything. It all falls on the promoter. And, you know, if you're not happy with a show, you know, you go to an NGA show and you're not happy with it, it was run like shit or whatever, that's on the promoter, you know? It's not the organization as a whole, but when that keeps happening, then that's when you look at, you know, does the organization care? Does the organization back them up or have certain standards in place for things to happen at a show? You know, like when I promote under the INBA, PNBA, there's certain standards that I have to abide by, you know, and rightfully so. I shouldn't be able to dumb down a show to save a few dollars on awards or swords or trophies no, we have standards that we go by. You know, not every organization has that. You know, there's a big show in Philadelphia every year, and he gets 100 people, great physiques. I've had Little League trophies that were better than he's given out. Like there's no quality control with that organization. There's no standard with that organization. You know, that shouldn't be allowed.
Right.
As a promoter, what makes or breaks a show? Like, what would you say is a good show opposed to what's a bad show?
You know, I don't ever go by how many athletes are in a show to say it's good or bad. You know, there's promoters out there, and I've put athletes into shows that didn't pay to do it. So I would never say it's how many athletes are in the show. You know, I think starting a show on time is good. I think having quality lighting is good. You know, putting construction lights on the stage floor shining up at you is horrible. Having big shadows in your photos, you know, you prep for 12 weeks, 14 weeks, 16 weeks, however long, and you get your pictures back and you look like you're standing in a funhouse mirror.
Yeah.
You know, what good is that? Right. So I think proper lighting is important. I think having a proper sound system is important. I think starting the show on time is important. I think having a professional staff that's, you know, helping run the show, whether it's somebody at the door taking tickets or it's the way the judges conduct themselves, all that goes into what makes the show good. You know, if you're at a show and you see a judge walking around backstage, run.
Right.
Right. There's no reason for that. If you're at a show and you see a coach go backstage and then go talk to judges and then come backstage again, you got to go right to the promoter and say, hey, this is bullshit. Why is the coach talking to the judges?
That makes a lot of sense. As far as, you know, it is a business that I would say, you know, a lot of guys, the promoters are like, I look at it like a independent business. You're able to buy into the brand and then from that,
Yeah, absolutely,
that brand to create more. Is there any help from that brand that can, you know, make it a little bit easier for a promoter that they should be doing or could be?
You know, some organizations help the promoters more than others, you know, whether it's through marketing or whatever, but you're not going to ever get financial help on running your show. So if you decide to run a show, what you do at your show is on you, right? And the reason the shows, like I mentioned before, are in schools is because traditionally they're cheaper to do it in a school.
Okay.
Right. So sure, there's some cost savings there. You know, they usually already have a sound system in place. There's usually already stage lighting there. You know, so that saves the promoter a lot of money. But what justice is that doing for a professional athlete
Or the sport?
Sure.
or the sport?
To that point, you know, we as athletes, this is a progressing sport. It's progressing
Right.
for the athlete. 1 year is better than the next year. The next year is better than the next year. So, you know, in terms of promotion, one idea that I had, and you let me know what your thoughts on this, is that, hey, you know, you have 5 years to get the show thriving. If it's not thriving, then, you know, your heart's not in it. You should
Right.
maybe can the show. So, you know, how much of that, you know, do you lend to, hey, this is a first time show, and then the next year and the next year, you know, progressing. So when it comes to Mr. America, obviously maybe you didn't start out obviously on TV. Could you walk us through the process of how you grew it to this mega show that you did? And maybe that could be a great idea for how these promoters, did you lean on the organization first? Was it part of an organization? You took it, you built it, you know, what all went into that process?
So
To be fair to the promoters who's starting out.
Right. So historically, like with the Mr. America, for example, it was on TV all the time. It wasn't until the late 90s, it just disappeared, right? The show wasn't being run. And then it ran under a couple different organizations. Didn't really do much. The title sat. Then not that the title went up for sale, but it became available. And somebody else ran it in 2015 and 16. And they had like 70, 80 competitors. But he's not a show promoter. It was probably like the coolest thing ever to see. In 2016, they took over Great Adventure in I think it was Bowie, Maryland. They took over the Great Adventure. Every athlete had tickets to, you know, every ride. It was 4th of July weekend. You know, they had caricatures running around, and, you know, Captain America and Superman and Spider-Man. You know, Frank Zane was there. Who else was there? I don't know. Tons of legends were there. It was an awesome experience, and that was my first Mr. America. Then 2017, there was big plans for the show, and I think it was Hurricane Irene that hit Texas real bad. And some of the sponsors that were involved in that, Samsung, Under Armour, they were putting up big money for the show that year. They allocated a lot of their funds, or most of their funds, to hurricane relief, if you guys remember that. So the show got canned at that point, and then it didn't run. That's when I came along. I'm like, this show needs to be run. Like, we can't, this can't happen. You know, this is, it's the most iconic title in all of bodybuilding. You know, it's literally the title that started it all. You know, the Olympia didn't even start happening until the mid-'60s. The Mr. America started in 1939. So we're 82 years in now. But so I acquired the title and the rights to the show last year. And I guess it was about 2 weeks prior to, the nationwide, 2 weeks to stop the curve, to bend the curve. And I'm like, wow, is this show doomed? Is it just meant not to happen? Is this not the right time? Being me, I'm going to push through. I'm not canceling the show. I'm not calling it quits. And all over social media, you had athletes saying, hey, we're taking the year off. We're not competing this year. And in my head, I'm like, nah, we're going to be able to have a show somehow, some way. And, the restrictions got tighter here in New Jersey and around the country, and people were canceling shows. And then there was people that were still trying to have shows, and they were putting them in their backyards and in parking lots. And I'm like, I love the idea that they're trying to pull these shows off still, and that there's athletes still competing. And I was determined. I'm like, I'm making this show happen come hell or high water, whatever I need to do to make that happen. So as the restrictions were changing, I said, well, in New Jersey, we were dropped down to a gathering limit of 50 people indoors, but our outdoor capacity was 150. So I said, fuck it, I'm moving the show outside. So I inquired about renting, if you've ever seen an outdoor concert, about, big trailer, it's a stage, they bring that in. So it was going to be underneath a portico, so it was completely covered in the shade, planned for an entire outdoor event, and we were going to do it in segments, right? So you could have 150 people there all at one time. And I figured out how to work with that and through that. And then when our capacity went up to 150 people indoors, I now had to revert back and now plan to move this show inside. But everything outside I was doing couldn't be done inside. So I had to plan another show, and we ended up bringing it back inside. And when I was able to work within all of those guidelines, and I'm in New Jersey, like, it's tough. We figured out a way to make it work. And I said, this show is destined. Everything that was happening last year, between the pandemic and politics, and everybody's, fighting each other, and, there's riots, and, for who knows why all over the place. The Mr. America was that event where we could bring people from all organizations, right? Like all political parties, all together under one roof for the common good during a tragic time in our history. And we were able to do it. We were able to pull it off. So a lot of those things were looked at when we were talking with the TV companies, and they recognized that, what we did. We had athletes from 20 different states make it to New Jersey and get on stage within the guidelines that were set out. So, yeah. So, we did the best thing we possibly could. We pulled it off. And that, to me, as a promoter, said, you know what? This is what I need to be doing. This brought people together. This was an event. It gave people hope and a vision for what could be. So I'm running with that as a promoter. That's my vision for it. That's why it's non-sanctioned. I'm able to pull everybody in from everywhere. And, that one time you're going to meet friends from all over the country that you had no idea existed. Chris, you might get on stage and be like, who the hell is this guy next to me? I didn't hear of him. I didn't know about him. And he might whoop you. Right. But that's what this is about. That's what this is about.
I look to learn from that man as well. Like I've learned from everybody else that's with me.
But, but to your point, a 5-year plan for a show is a great thing. I'm anticipating this year. Last year was great. This year we're beyond what I thought I was going to do, because I'm the guy that, you give me an inch, I'm going to run with that. I'm going to run with it. I'm going to take it and run. So we have, tons of sports. We're adding sports every year. And where we are this year was not my vision until 23. So I'm 2 years ahead of where I want to be with the event. So when you come out to this event and you see what we are this year, in 2 years, it's going to even be better. But I honestly, and this is my true gut feeling, this is from the business side of me, I think 2022 will be the top for the Mr. America. And then it's my job to hold it there and remain at that peak, right? Until we come up with more ways and better ways to improve it from there. Whether it's, it's going to be big. It's going to be big.
Mark, I'm gonna have to go against you. I'm gonna look for the ever growth and continuing for a better and better one each year.
Right.
This is, I think everyone will be looking forward to from like the time that they heard about it until the end of time.
Right. Well, yeah, that's the idea. But like I said, when I laid out my vision for it with my 5-year plan for the event, I'm ahead of schedule. I'm ahead of schedule.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So do you think
if you guys ever wanted to promote, that's what you need to do.
Understand and stick with it.
Yeah, you guys ever march in a parade before?
Haven't had the chance to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that is on my list of things to accomplish for the Mr. America. It happened in the late 70s out in Santa Monica. There was about 250,000 people at the Mr. America weekend. So that's where I'm going with this. So that's part of the reason it needs to be on a holiday weekend.
So
awesome.
I have one more question, Mark. From me personally, as far as the future of bodybuilding, do you think the group that you guys are establishing and unsanctioned events would actually promote that, or will it further divide the sport?
So there's not one organization that I know of that would personally run a non-sanctioned event. The cooperation and collaboration that we have between the organizations that are involved right now is good. I'm pushing for certain things that might be in phase 2 or phase 3 or phase 4 of this plan that we're putting together. But the way the sport gets better is some sort of unification. That's the bottom line. Is we need unification. If you guys want big prize money, which everybody does, there needs to be unification. If you want kick-ass venues, or you want to come compete in Times Square in New York City, yeah, there needs to be some cooperation from other organizations to make that happen. One of my visions is I'm looking to have down the road 1, maybe 2 pro leagues. That's it. Not a pro league with every single organization. There's just the NFL. There's just NASCAR. There's just the PGA. There's just the NHL. We're so divided that we can't ever provide the athletes with the things that you actually deserve and the things that you actually want. So yeah, I'm pushing for some type of unification, and whether that means, there's 5 or 6 major organizations that they all take one of those major pro shows, right? And then they could run regional pro shows or whatever it is, right? They're in Delaware. They want to run the Delaware Pro. It's for Delaware residents, Delaware members of that organization, whatever. But the big shows, I think there should be 4 or 5 spread out throughout the year. Each organization could possibly take one under one standard set of criteria, under one set judging guidelines, under one set of standards for a venue and for lighting and for sound. And that would be a great start. But, organizations, it's a business. We have stronger bargaining power together than we do apart.
So breaking down.
If I run in the bank and I try to rob the bank by myself, I might get my ass kicked by 6 80-year-old ladies, right? But if we all go in the bank and try to rob the bank, we stand a good chance of getting what we want, right? Unification is what's going to bring this further. And whether I do that or one of you guys took it and ran with it, unification is still going to make the sport better.
I think that's a great idea. To your knowledge, how many organizations are there? And out of those organizations, who's actually involved in wanting to unify everyone or sees the bigger picture?
So I'm not going to call out any organizations that the list of organizations that don't want to be involved is a lot shorter than the organizations that do want to be involved. Okay. So we could put it that way. But you could see what goes on out there. There's organizations that will block their athletes from their own pages, from their own sites, from their own events. So how do you show up and support an organization like that? An organization, and I just had this conversation 3 or 4 hours ago with one of the presidents of an organization. an organization has rules and regulations that and if that organization is blocking their own athletes, that's the rules that they follow, that an athlete did something on their own time in private that you didn't like, so you block them. That's not an organization that you should follow. You know, that's just the way it goes, you know.
Cancel culture.
But yeah, I'll put it to you this way. I promote with the INBA. They're backing up the Mr. America 110%. They're qualifying people for the Natural Olympia. You know, that's a huge international event. You know, Ironman Magazine, they're coming out, they're supporting it, right? The IPE, they're paying for a sponsorship, they're supporting it. The AAU, they're supporting it. The ANBF, they're supporting it. The NPF, they're supporting it. You know, the WNBF, I've spoken with Nancy Andrews numerous times. You know, I'm hoping she comes out to the event. You know, I'd love to have her. They support me. They're behind me. You know, they don't have any major events on the same day. You know, like it's a good working relationship. So, you know, with that being said, you know, you get an idea of how many organizations are involved that are actually looking to support the sport and the athletes.
And those are the ones we should look to follow.
Well, that's not what I said, but yeah, but those are the organizations. You know, you have to make your own decisions on, you know, who you follow and why, right? Everybody's reason for following the organization is different, right? And that's not for me to tell you who to follow. I'm not telling you guys, oh yeah, you know, I need everybody to come over to the INBA because, you know, we do things the greatest and we have kick-ass shows and, you know, like, I mean, we do. But if that doesn't fit what you're trying to do, then no, that's not the place for you. There might be a better place for you. You know, if you're looking to compete on a huge international stage against other pro athletes, then yeah, that probably is the place to go, right? And if that's a goal of a professional athlete to compete on a huge international stage, yeah, you go to the Natural Olympia. That's who's got it, right? The WNBF, you know, they have a world event, they have international shows. DFAC, you know, they're behind it. You know, they support us. We have one of their main guys, judging for us. Europe is locked down a little bit, so they're not going to have that contingency that they normally do this year, right? That they normally would. But, you know, they have great international shows. So if that's a goal, you go to that organization to fulfill that goal, to fulfill that dream.
Sweet.
So, you know, I'm willing to talk to anybody, any athlete, any promoter, you know, and share my ideas and thoughts and my vision for the sport and how we can make it better. I'm an open book. Ask me anything, you know, tell me anything, whatever you want to do. We're going to make this better together.
The biggest thing I've gotten is unity. Yeah. And I think it was literally on my way home from my first meeting about the Mr. America. I was in Maryland for this meeting. I was literally on my way home calling the presidents of all the organizations. Like, I didn't wait. I didn't think about a plan. Like, I knew that's what I need to do. And I started getting people on the phone. So, you know, that says a lot. That says a lot.
Sweet.
So we hear that, guys. Unity will build the sport. So we all got to get unified and build the sport to what it should be.
Yeah.
Or what it has been in the past. We just need to get back to it.
Yep.
We just appreciate just from the things that I'm hearing, man. I just appreciate you as a promoter and then, you know, all the things that you're providing for the athletes and the initiative that you're taking. You know, you can tell that your heart's in it. You can tell that, you know, you're creating a platform, and you can tell that, you know, you're a pro athlete. So,
right.
And
so,
you know, we appreciate it. Yeah,
you guys. I mean, you guys are doing the same thing. You know, so you guys, you give yourselves a round of applause or pat on the back, or, you know, buy yourself a larger bottle of water or something, or you know, have somebody cook some grilled chicken for you. But, you know, you should be celebrating what you're doing too. You know, you guys are what motivates me to do the things that I do. You know, I can't rally athletes, but when I see athletes rallying for better things, that motivates people like me to do better. So, you know, thank you for doing what you guys do.
Appreciate the notice.
That's the idea. Iron sharpening iron is like the slogan. So that's awesome.
That's right. That's right.
If we all come together, like I said, the goal is a better sport, not a better, you know, in my opinion, it's not the best organization. It's the better the sport, the more we're broadcasted, like, honestly. the more I can walk into a supermarket, or the more likely I'm able to walk into a supermarket. Like, hey, that's that guy that flies in the air.
Yeah. You know, and you know, you pull that off, and that hits TV. Like, yeah, everybody's gonna know that. Everybody's gonna know that. You know, think big picture here, guys. You know, and the other very, very important part of this thing is, you know, Sammy's really stepped up and not realizing how much she's doing for the sport right now. You know, people are talking about her all over the country. You know, she's
a round of applause.
Yeah. She's Sammy's the real deal.
Thank you.
Trailblazing.
Thank you.
Trailblazing.
All right, guys. It was great talking to you guys. If you have any other questions, listen, feel free, you know, send me a message. You know, my phone number is out there all over the place. Email me, and you know, whatever I could do to help you guys, you let me know.
We appreciate it, Mark. We want to thank you for joining us.
No problem. Sorry I interrupted. I just felt the need to at that point.
We're kind of happy. We got a lot of information that we needed. We got down to the source.
Good,
sir.
Good. Anything else, just let me know. And look out for that announcement. It should be coming out by the end of the week of how much the prize money is going to be for Pro Men's Physique.
Nice.
Okay, cool. And everybody tune in July 22nd. What time are we at on CBS?
7 p.m. Eastern time.
7 p.m. Eastern time. CBS Sports, correct?
Yeah, CBS Sports Network.
Ooh.
Got it.
Yep, it's on streaming on Hulu and YouTube TV. It's everywhere.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, get your friends, your family, your neighbors, you know, whoever you walk past, get them watching the show.
Grandma, aunties, uncles, put it on every TV
Yeah,
in
hey,
the house.
let me I just want to put one more thing out there real quick. You know, our sport could be a little bit cutthroat and a lot of he said, she said, you know, it could be like a high school locker room. It doesn't matter how many people watch the sport for me, because I'm paying to make this happen. I'm not getting paid by any networks. I'm not getting paid by sponsors to put this content out there. I'm paying for it. So, but the best thing we can do for the sport is get more eyeballs on it, and you know, bigger things will happen.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
No problem, guys.
Hosting the segment.
You got it.
Thank you, Deven.
Thank you again.
All right. Thanks.
It's been a hell of a show. We're going to leave it to Sammy to let us go out of there while we digest all of this new information. And we choose where we're going from here on out.
So hey, wait.
Choose wisely.
Quick. Real quick.
What?
Make sure you go follow Baker's Delights Ice Cream.
Yes.
Go follow it on Instagram.
Yeah, I can use my discount code too. We just didn't make one up yet. All right, guys. Looking forward to seeing you next week. All right. We're going to let Sammy get us out of here for today.
Yeah, you guys it was a great episode, a lot of information, and Deven, I look forward to seeing you on stage.
All right, thank you for having me, guys.
Yes,
appreciate you, big brother.
All right.
Now, do you guys have a guest lined up for next week?
Bikini B. Ooh, it's going to be an interesting conversation next week.
Okay, all right,
okay.
I like
Very
it.
interesting.
All right. Well, you guys have a great night. Thank you for your time, and thank you for hosting this. And I'm going to go ahead and leave everybody with this. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Called Out. Remember, every Thursday at 6 o'clock, you can find Chris and Marcus live. A special thank you to Classic Physique Pro Deven Baker for joining us tonight. Please follow 24 Fit CJ and 2020 Nutrition on Instagram to find out who next week's guest will be.